Thank you so much, everyone. Please take your seats.
Yan po, no? Maraming salamat.
Magandang umaga po, CMU Community. Ako po si Bian Sevilla at live po tayo ngayon rito sa CMU iConnect kung saan pangalawang araw na po ng pagdiriwang ng 31st Foundation Anniversary ng ating pamantasan. At ngayon nga po, live po tayo dito sa CMU Hall kung saan nakikita niyo po sa aking likuran ang CMU Hall ay punong-puno po ng mga audience dahil ngayon po gaganapin ang academic competition kung saan matutunghayan po natin ang kagisan ng talino at talas ng isip ng ating mga estudyante mula sa iba't ibang departamento. At kami na nga lang po noong umaga alas 8 ay nakaabang na po sa labas yung mga audience sa manood po para sa debate na to. At ang ayon po sa mga organizers ay 100 tickets lang po ang kanilang ibinenta at naubos po ito agad kaninang umaga. At ayun nga po, ang ayon po sa mga organizers po ay 100 nga lang po ang kanilang PA committee at di na po sila magpapapasok ng mga audience na wala pong ticket dahil naalala din po nila ang kaligtasan ng ating mga audience dahil po baka magsiksikan po sila dito sa CMU Hall. At mamaya nga lang po matutunghayan po natin ang contest proper at kung saan po sa first round ay maglalaban po ang College of Teachers Education and College of Arts and Computer and Sciences, CCJE at CAS para po sa second round, CBA at special team naman na binuo para sa third round. At ngayon po ay matutunghayan po natin ang speech po ng ating butihing din na si Dr. Arnel Basilio.
Our University President, Dr. Glenda.
Ngayon nga po, matutunghayan po natin ang speech po ng ating butihing dean na si Dr. Arnel Basilio ng College of Arts and Sciences.
Vice President for Administration and Finance. And this is the academic competition, academic debate. The working committee of these academic competitions are Dr. Abiel Abdu, Professor Daniel Santiago, Dr. Zui Francis Martenso, Professor Jen Concepcion, Professor Maria Luisa Tongco, and then the other officers of the CAS organization. And to our esteemed judges, Attorney Jobert Magilga, Attorney Napoleon Campos, Professor Raylante Isi, and to our attendees today, the CMU students, a heartfelt welcome and good morning lahat. Talaga itong itong event na to talaga magpapakita ng mga ng mga takisan ng mga kanya-kanyang mga opinion. Meron tayong mga 5 college, kolehiyo na participants dito sa event na to. At dahil diyan papakita nila talaga yung sa yung pagiging tunay na scholar ng City of Malabon University. Kasi para i-remind ulit kayo yung mga mga pinalad na naka-receive ng pribilehiyo ng City Government of Malabon na scholar ng bayan, diba? At dahil na rin yan sa mabuting pamamahala ng ating butihing ngayon Jim Sandoval na talagang lagi niyang prioridad ang edukasyon, lalo na dito sa City of Malabon University. Okay, this isn't a competition, no? Siyempre, magbibigay ang mga participants natin ng kanya-kanyang mga opinion. And we are celebrating nga pala our 31st founding anniversary. It's a celebration of a vibrant intellectual energy ng mga student ng CMU dito sa City of Malabon University. At makikita natin mamaya ng mga participants and brings a unique perspective, a distinct lens through which you view the world, no? Kasi meron tayong mga iba't ibang topic. And that's what makes this debate so fascinating. Para lang magkaroon lang tayo din. Actually, itong debate na to, part of camaraderie na rin, para nagkakakilala yung mga different students ng every colleges, di ba? And then, they sparks the fly when different viewpoints meet. Doon nila pakikita talaga yung mga kung paano sila manindigan. And now, as a Dean of College of Arts and Sciences, I am the chairman of this event, the academic competition. I know there might be some butterflies in your stomach, lalo na kayo mga participants sa debate. Maybe a touch of stage fright. But remember, this is an opportunity to shine, to flex your mental muscles, and to showcase your intellectual prowess. Don't be afraid to push boundaries, to challenge assumptions, to make bold arguments. That's what makes debate so exhilarating. No? Talaga naman, exciting to kasi talaga magtatagis ng mga bata. Minsan dito pinapakita yung mga knowledge at saka yung mga common sense na tinatawag. So remember, you're not just representing your course, you're representing the spirit of City of Malabon University for the foundation of this foundation. A spirit of intellectual curiosity, critical thinking, and passionate pursuit of knowledge. Let your voices be heard, let your arguments soar, and let this debate, this academic debate, be a testament to the power of reasoned discourse. May the best arguments prevail, and we all leave this event feeling inspired, challenged, and enriched. And let this debate begin. Isang magandang umaga po ulit. CMU Sulong, Malabon, Ahon. Thank you.
Maraming salamat, Dr. Arnel Basilio. And now, ito na yung pinakahihintay natin lahat.
Of course. So, nabalitaan mo ba, partner, yung mga topics natin ay napapanahon talaga. We have the AI, artificial AI, the criminal liability, and also the death penalty. So, parang exciting na makita talaga na i-debate to ngayong araw.
Parang ang hirap, no, partner, no? Kung ikaw yung advocate nung anti-death penalty, tapos sa'yo mapunta yung yung pro ka.
Pero for sure, magagaling ang ating mga debaters ngayong umaga.
Yes naman. Malulusutan nila yan. Lalo ngayon, partner, ang mga judges natin ay hindi basta-basta.
Of course, wag na natin patagalin. Pakilala na natin of our panel of judges. We have the esteemed professors from our university.
Nandito po ang ating judges na si Attorney Jobert Pahiga.
Our judge number 2, Attorney Napoleon Campos.
For our third judge, nandito si Professor Reynante Isip. Bigatin lahat sila?
Yes, of course. At we want to say thank you, everyone, para sa ating mga audience na makakasaksi ng debate natin ngayon.
Yes naman, partner. Ngayon naman, partner, alam na ba nila yung general mechanics natin ngayong umaga?
Pakilala mo na, partner. Feel ko hinihintay din ng lahat to.
Oo nga eh. Crush ng bayan to eh. And para maghatid sa atin or sabihin sa atin kung ano yung general mechanics ng debate ngayong umaga, ipinapakilala ko sa inyo ang ating napakagwapong professor, Professor Daniel Santiago.
Good morning to everyone. So I'll be the debate moderator for today. So before we start the actual debate, let me share to you the following mechanics that will follow throughout this event. So first things first, each college will form a debate team consisting of 4 members per colleges po. So we have 5 colleges and we created 1 special team para maging 6 sila. So the special team are basically any student coming from different colleges. So kung sino yung nag-volunteer from CBA, CAS, IT, and kung sino po yung huling nagpa-register, sila po yung magiging official special team. Next, the entire debate will consist of 3 rounds lang. Kasi po, 6 teams basically. So you have 2 colleges for the first round, 2 colleges for the second round, and another 1 college versus the special team for the last round. And with different debate topics respectively po. The winners for the academic debate will be determined based on the highest accumulated score based on per round. So kung sino po yung manalo sa round na yon, so sa first round kung sino po yung college, then sa second round kung sino po yung then that last round kung sino po yung nanalo doon, then kung sino po yung pinakamataas dun sa tatlo, that would be declared as the winner. Ito po yung ginawang mechanics ng committee kasi po we are given only this time frame. Medyo time constraint po kasi yung event. So we have to finish until 1 o'clock. Kaysa mag-round robin tayo or mag-iba tayo ng way to determine kung sino yung winners, yun po yung pinaka-best as of this event. And if there is a tie, as much as possible try to avoid that, there will be a tiebreaker round. Now this contest will adopt the British parliamentary debate format, wherein you have 2 teams, the proposition and opposition. And each team consists of 4 members po. The medium occasion during the debate event is in English or Taglish. We allow them to use that means para po komportable sila sa harap. All contestants should be officially enrolled in any of our main course program of the university, and each team, at least again, should be in their respective colleges or a representative of their respective colleges. Next, each team should be registered within the prescribed period of the debate at the debate committee, with the debate committee. Next, po is that during the debate, each participants are given the following time or minutes for them to speak. For those teams who are on the proposition side or the government side, the Prime Minister is given 5 minutes to speak, and the rest of the team are given 3 minutes only. Again, this is to limit this is to use our time wisely po sa event kasi we have 3 rounds. And if you can see, we have timers dito po sa harap. So, 5 minutes again for the Prime Minister, then the rest of the speaker po would be only given 3 minutes. Then the following po, would be used for the criteria of judging. Number 1 po is evidence, 20 points. Delivery, 30 points. Interpellation, 30 points. And rebuttal, 20 points. With overall of 100. So, mangyari po dito, there will be graded individually, at least to find the best debater for today, and to find the overall score, yung scores po nila individually will be average. Then doon po natin malalaman kung sino po yung panalo sa team na yon and yung overall highest for the competition. The last part of the debate, after each team has given their side, there would be an interpellation of the judges. So yung judges naman po magtatanong, given 15 minutes, doon ka contestant natin. So, alam naman po ng mga debaters yan, and that would be also the exciting part for the debate. So our panel of judges will be given an opportunity to ask questions naman po sa kanila, if they have any po. Then, and up to this po, kung sino po manalo, at the end of this, again, there would be 1 winner. Yung may pinakamataas po, they will choose, based on the score po, there would be 1 best debater overall. Ito, that's the entire mechanics. Thank you.
Ayan, maganda. Salamat po, Sir Daniel Santiago. Ngayon naman, partner, nasan kayo yung mga colleges ngayong umaga? Nandito ba ang College of Arts and Sciences? Ayan, medyo marami-rami, mga 5. Nandito ba ang College of Criminal Justice Education? Mga 7. Nandito ba ang College of Teacher Education? Ay, madami-dami. Mga 8. Magpapatalo ba ang College of Computer Science? Mga 10. Statis pala, sorry. Mali ako. College of Business Accountancy. Alright.
So let's start the debate proper. So let's go with the first round of the debate. Let me call on the team for proposition or government. Let me call on the participants from the College of Teacher Education. So they will be the one defending their stand. So Prime Minister, next. Okay? Now let me call on their opponent, the opposition team, the College of Computer Studies. So leader of opposition, then the next. We have the leader here. Okay. So their topic for today's debate, let me read it to you. Artificial intelligence, a threat to students' performance and character. Again, the debate topic is artificial intelligence, a threat to student performance and character. Now, let me call on the Prime Minister for the government side or the proposition to make their motion.
Moderating work, co-leaders, panel judges, and to everyone who are here and present today. A pleasant morning to each and every one of you. I am Mike Rafael, Prime Minister of the Proposition team, and I welcome you to this side of the House. Today, I stand before you to argue that artificial intelligence poses a threat to students' performance and character, as we believe that artificial intelligence negatively impacts the students both ethically and academically from their learning, social skills, problem-solving skills, and collaboration skills. To begin, let's establish a clear understanding of what artificial intelligence is. According to Helmut Ab, AI is a branch of computer science that utilizes algorithms and machine learning techniques to simulate human intelligence. It is essentially the process of machines, particularly computer systems, mimicking human intellectual functions. While AI can replicate or copy human systems or human intelligence, it inherently lacks the emotional depth that is crucial for the holistic development of a student's character and academic progress. In today's modern time, AI provides new patterns and colors to all aspects of the world. So broad, but we can deny the fact, and most especially we can overlook its catastrophic consequences that have begun to unfold. Isa sa mga pinararamdaman na challenge that AI brought was the over-reliance of students on AI. The research conducted by Biksha et al. Highlights that students' reliance on AI, such as the ChatGPT, often lead to the lack of depth and breadth of learning. Depth of learning refers to the deeper understanding, the analysis of knowledge, while the breadth of learning refers to the range of knowledge recognized. Moreover, she stated that excessive reliance on AI, using it to cheat or copy answers to complete assignments, only for superficial answers without a deep understanding of the knowledge, which results in failing to expand their knowledge base. And because of that, nagkakaroon ng improvement o pag-angat sa depth and breadth of learning in some student. She also added that using AI such as ChatGPT long-term or academic problems without interacting and or collaborating with peers can also negatively affect a student's communication, expression, and cooperation skills. Adding to this concern, Smythe and Vitera assert in their study that too much reliance on AI affect the critical thinking of students that may lead to passive attitudes among students who expect ready-made solutions from the system rather than engaging in an independent thought. Using a survey method in a total population of 190 students, 83% of them agreed that such reliance on AI could influence the decision-making process and may lead to a situation where people engage less in critical thinking, relying instead kung ano yung binibigay ng algorithms ng AI. Beyond academic concerns, while the benefits of AI are undeniable, in the research, Jo Marie V. Baron, a researcher from South Cotabato, Philippines, concerns are mounting regarding AI's potential to hinder the development of crucial psychosocial skills in students. Well, when we say psychosocial development, it encompasses a wide range of competencies essential for healthy growth, including emotional regulation, social competence, critical thinking, and responsible decision-making. Over-reliance on AI tools for academic support might impede the development of these crucial skills, potentially leading to unintended consequences. One key concerns around the potential impact of AI on critical thinking skills. Students who habitually resort to AI-powered writing assistants may not develop the necessary skills for independent research, analysis, and argument construction. These AI assistants can generate well-structured essays and summaries without necessarily fostering a true understanding of the underlying concepts. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Now let's hear the Leader of Opposition.
It's a pleasant morning, everyone here. In today's generations, we are now living in a generation where computer or technology become our constant companion. We are now heading in a world of dystopia where artificial intelligence is no longer considered as a futuristic concept. Rather, it is here with us now as a transformative force facing and developing our individual lives, including our educations. Now, AI or artificial intelligence is designed to mimic the human intelligence, just like what said earlier, which is also designed to assist every one of us in our daily life hassles. But AI is not a threat in our stance, which is that the education itself should not be the one resisting our innovations. Education should be the one who is adapting to this basic advancement. According to this question, today, meron po ba ditong hindi pa gumagamit ng artificial intelligence, including sa ating studies? Siyempre, wala po. So, with regards sa statement kanina, the apprehension surrounding this AI, beginning these concerns about the student over-reliance sa AI, which is potentially weakening the student's performance and character towards their studies. But, in fact, according to the theory of autonomy or the self-governance theory, meron tayong tinatawag na each and every one of us is responsible for our own choice and actions, which is sinasabi dito na AI is not a harm unless we choose to engage with it irresponsibly. Okay? So, it is our choice in the first place to use and overuse the AI itself. The key points here is the artificial intelligence will not become a harm unless you choose to engage with it, and also our behavior towards the AI and how are we going to acknowledge the presence of AI. So blaming the AI for its shortcoming or any unethical concerns like dishonesty or cheating behavior is like blaming a pen for writing a lie. Kapag sinaksak ka ba ng kutsilyo, sisisihin mo yung kutsilyo? Of course, hindi. Sisisihin mo yung sumaksak sa'yo. Right? So according to the study we have conducted, which is participated by the different universities in the Philippines, AI become their assisting tools. So the decision in holding our fear is very on us. So I am also definite that those who fear AI today will be left behind by those people who will learn to adapt this in tomorrow that will come. Thank you.
Participants, kindly makikita yung mga name tags para makasunod yung panel of judges natin kung sino na yung nagsasalita. Okay? So next, let's proceed with the second speaker for the government or the proposition, Deputy Prime Minister.
The increasing over-reliance on AI in education has sparked ethical concerns, particularly regarding its effects on students' social skills and emotional intelligence. While AI has benefits, it also creates entertainment consequences, as Klimova and Picard research in 2025 warned, quote, over-reliance on AI may diminish interpersonal skills and emotional intelligence, leading to social isolation and anxiety. Due to over-reliance on AI-driven learning tools, students have become more increasingly detached from traditional social interactions. Instead that they turn to their teachers and peers, they turn on AI chatbots for their response. As a result, students risk losing an essential communication skills that are critical for both academic success and personal relationships. Kundo and Beige noted that while AI fosters an engagement and cognitive achievement, it also contributes to a social isolation and unstable mental health and moral dilemmas. Another major ethical concern of over-reliance on AI ay ang pag-decrease ng critical thinking and decision-making abilities. When students depend too heavily on AI-generated answers, they may struggle to evaluate information independently. While Tom and Sue highlighted that AI models can create a false sense of accuracy, leading to students to accept information without questioning it. This raises concerns about the development, problem-solving skills in an era where independency is more important more than ever. Moreover, over-reliance on AI systems introduce many ethical dilemmas related to the algorithmic biases and privacy, at maraming AI tools na nagko-collect ng data and it analyzes can raise a risk of privacy violations. In conclusion, the over-reliance on AI in education presents a significant ethical challenge, while AI enhances the efficiency, pero should it not come at the cost of essential human skills? If it left unchecked, ang over-reliance on AI could weaken the students' ability to navigate the complexities of the real world, both intellectually and socially. Thank you very much.
Now let's proceed. Let's go back again to the opposition side. Let me call on Deputy Leader of Opposition.
So good afternoon, everyone. I would like to commend and thank you for giving us a very satisfactory argument. But being on the opposition team, I will still be firmly do not agree that AI is actually a threat to students. Why? Allow me to give me my stand in a prep method. So with this, we could actually articulate our thoughts and not go around with the argument. So for the point one, with regards to the communication and logical thinking, I would like to present to you the two research from Carleton University. Just a conclusion. The first one is communication. In Carleton University, they use artificial intelligence to chat with people. There are almost 500 participants, and none of them know whether they were talking with a person or they were talking to an AI. And for the chess one, they were trying to give them a companion, one companion for 80% accurate and one companion for 80% inaccurate. It ended up that their behavior is actually present way before the AI is even existing. What do I mean? People actually enjoy talking with chatbots as well, and also it improves their communication with regards to that research. Also for the chess one, they found out that their confidence is actually too low. That's why they ended up relying on the AI. With regards to this, I would like to highlight the autonomy, the philosophy of the autonomy. So it was a self-governance wherein we have to govern our actions and not to blame. I would like also to emphasize that some of the research on your side states that from 17 to 25 years old, we're actually engaged in artificial intelligence. It is because our frontal lobe is not yet developed. Our dopamine is actually still kicking high. That's why it allows us to not think critically and allows us to experience way more things, but it ended up that we fall more over. So I would like to highlight real quick some 3 articles of the Philippine Constitution that supports and promotes the boundaries of using AI. With regards to this, we can govern the use of AI. So the Article 12, Article 2, Section 12, Article 2, Section 17, and also the Article 14 and Article 2. At the end of the day, for the closing of my argument, I would like to highlight this one that we've learned from one of the cybersecurity from the seminar, that AI is actually 80% human and 20% technology. So it was actually all about us. That was from Sir Pulamin, the co-founder of Cybersoft PH. So with regards to this, let us not try to demonize the idea of innovation. Rather, we have to embrace it for the future generation. Thank you.
So let's go back to the government side. Let me call on their third speaker, member of government.
Hello. With the stated article in the Constitution, without any law regulating AI artificial intelligence, without law regulating artificial intelligence, it tends to be abused by the students. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Elmer C., the third speaker of Proposition. The unchecked reliance of artificial intelligence is a ticking time bomb, threatening to undermine the very foundation of our education system. The ease of access to online to AI-powered tool and very over-reliance on it is creating academic dishonesty and misinformation risk. According to Grand View, let's localize the topic. According to Grand View research data, the Philippines is the first among all Southeast Asia countries using artificial intelligence, staggering 5,236 researchers per 100,000 population. Second to the Philippines is Singapore, with only 2,500 researchers. Imagine that. Singapore is more advanced with us. But naunahan natin yung Singapore na gumamit ng AI. And furthermore, a survey by Instructure revealed that a significant portion of Filipino students, particularly in higher education, are using AI, with 83% using it as a research and writing. These surveys are the indication that here in the Philippines, over-reliance on artificial intelligence is widespread and indeed existing. The alarming rise of academic dishonesty facilitated by AI-powered tools is a clear indication of the erosion of academic integrity. By the the State Academic Integrity in Higher Education Survey, between 50% and 70% of students admit to cheating during their academic degree, their academic career. According to it, students cheat. 71% state that pressure to get good grades is as a major reason. Relying on artificial intelligence, students demonstrate a blatant disregard of value of integrity, accountability, and honesty. This behavior perpetuates a culture of dishonesty, undermining the value of education and compromising the validity of academic degree. Over-reliance on artificial intelligence has also led to heightened misinformation risk. Research by Journal Communication, AI-powered bots can disseminate misinformation up to 6 times faster than human users. To conclude, consequences of over-reliance is indeed will affect negatively student academic performance, cognitive abilities.
Thank you. Now let's go back to the opposition side. Let me call on their third speaker, member of opposition.
Good afternoon. Good morning. So, according to our leader of opposition, we head into the world of dystopia, where technology and AI is advancing year by year. It's not a harm to education, but it's a harm when the student change to engage within the wrong way. AI can improve the student learning and student depending on what student needs to improve. So how AI can be a threat? When it's come, AI is helping you to improve yourself. It comes to your significance. So when Agara said, we that are really studying a possibility with AI. AI really has many benefits, both for teacher and student. Teacher can save a lot of time with the help of AI. And also, student can go ahead with studying a lesson and advancing with the help of AI. However, there is awareness that AI technology is often abused and irresponsible use. Katulad ng sinabi kanina, AI ginagamit minsan sa pag-cheat, but not totally. Because AI is using it for... That's why David proposed that students must have...
Okay, there's a point of information. Point of information po is binibigay if the other side has questions. So, nakapost po yung... Now, the question is po, would you accept or reject the point of information? Accept, reject. Accept. Okay, what's the question?
Okay, so the question is, you said earlier that people are somehow aware of the negative impacts of the AI. So, can you at least, can you give us at least even one certain law that regulates or nagbibigay ng awareness para sa mga tao when it comes to artificial intelligence? Thank you.
Actually, meron tayong tinatawag na AI course kung saan tinuturuan ng mga student or people na mag-enhance kung paano gagamitin ang AI. So, therefore, doon pa papasok na yung autonomy. So, doon makikita kung paano natuturuan yung student kung paano mag-gain yung limitation nila. As a responsible student, we know our limitation to how to use AI. That's why DepEd proposed that students must have respect. That's why Angara proposed that there is policy use that students must have follow and use, teacher told that cannot be used AI. Actually, may mga teacher tayo na gumagamit ng AI. Then they can detect the student relying to AI. So how come this educator is not actually there have
Thank you. Well, let's proceed with the last speaker for the government or proposition. Let me call on the government whip.
Good morning, everyone. A pleasant morning. So let me start my closing remarks or closing statement with what Ms. Speaker have said earlier. Sabi niya, ginagamit sa pag-cheat, pero not totally. That specific statement, pinapatunayan na yes, nagagamit niya ang artificial intelligence sa cheating and academic dishonesty. That leads, of course, to over-rely sa paggamit ng artificial intelligence. At sabi pa ni Ma'am kanina na even teachers ay nag-equip na ng artificial intelligence because their job demands to. No, hindi natin sinasabi or ang sinasabi, and we're talking about in the perspective of students. Students' academic performance and character. In conclusion, our team have presented a compelling case that artificial intelligence indeed possess a significant threat to both students' performance and character development. AI may present certain advantages, but it also, or more, comes with significant struggle. It only mimics human-like intelligence, pero naglalak ng emotional depth that is necessary to nurture students' growth in critical areas such as learning, problem-solving, social interaction, and collaboration. Sabi dito, the excessive use of AI raises a significant ethical concern as it diminishes social skills and emotional intelligence. In the Philippines, the over-reliance of AI among students threatens the integrity of education, with as what Mr. Elmer presented, with 83% of students use AI for research. Academic dishonesty is on the rise. Additionally, AI contributes to the spread of misinformation, which further jeopardizes students' academic performance and ethical value. This growing dependence negatively impacts their development both academically and professionally. The potential use of artificial intelligence in education cannot be fully realized as it continues to produce biased, inaccurate, and fabricated information as seen in tools like ChatGPT, CC, and others. AI may stimulate human-like interaction, but it lacks the emotional depth for essential students' emotional intelligence. To end our stand with the data, researches, and information that we have provided and presented today, it all proves that artificial intelligence is indeed a threat to students' academic performance and character development. Thank you.
Thank you, po. So let's proceed with the last speaker for the opposition side. Let me call on the opposition wing.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable judges, and my fellow debaters, just to answer your questions earlier, you said that cheating is not totally used by the students because at the very first place, artificial intelligence has been developed to become the assistants of every student. And also professors has been connected with that because education is a collaboration with the students, the government, and the professor itself. We have done the survey, including the Technical University of the Philippines, Polytechnical University of the Philippines, Davao Doctors of Colleges, and also Our Lady of Fatima University, and as well as CMU University. We've gathered that 80% of the students have livelihood in using AI in their everyday lives. We've tackled so many challenges in this kind of aspect of education because AI has been the helping tool of every student. Given the fact that every day we have given the professors too many tasks in AI is one of the things that we can rely on. And also due to the emotional intelligence that you've been telling about us is that we use AI or artificial intelligence because AI doesn't discriminate the student. It doesn't give too much emotions because AI is an algorithm that has been flowed and used by each individual. Stating the fact that artificial intelligence has been used all throughout the world, Philippines has been adapting to it. I want to ask every one of us, what do you think would be the outcome of the Philippines if we are not adapting or innovating artificial intelligence? We will be left behind and we will learn so much less things about it. That's why artificial intelligence is the fruit of the innovation and the economy of us will grow too. But to tackle about the students' capabilities and academic skills, AI is a helping tool that they can use in this everyday life. That's why we firmly believe that AI is not a threat. I just want to clarify about the AI that threat is something that have the possibility to cause harm, trouble, or danger to each and every one of us. But still, I can see that AI is a great assessment or assistance that we have in this as to become a student in this 20th century. That would be all. Thank you.
Okay, so let's give our participants round of applause. Proposition mo and opposition. Now for this time, we'll give naman our panel of judges an opportunity to ask questions po sa ating debaters. Yeah, 15 minutes wala. 15 seconds.
Morning.
Okay, so we'll give our judges 15 minutes to ask questions and each participants are given 1 minute to answer po. Okay po? Then, as much as possible, no follow-up questions po, judges, para tuloy-tuloy lang po tayo. Then, at the same time po, kung sino po gusto nyo tanongin sa kanila, go ahead lang po. Bahala kayo. So, let's start po. So, we'll start with Attorney Pahiga.
Government number 2.
Yes, government.
Did I hear you correctly that it is the over-reliance on AI that is a problem? Over-reliance. And government speaker number 3. So it is your argument that excessive use of AI is a problem. But if we use AI not excessively and we will not overly rely on AI, it can help develop students' critical thinking.
We can say that artificial intelligence can regulate by the user itself. In a long run, the person itself using artificial intelligence will create culture of over-reliance on artificial intelligence. And the artificial intelligence is designed to this kind of ginawa ang artificial intelligence para mag-rely yung mga tao sa kanya at para palitan yung intelligence ng tao ng mga totoong tao para mabawasan yung use ng mga physical action ng tao. So, binabawasan po natin yung mga kilos ng tao at sa ganong bagay, na-invento po itong artificial intelligence. Sa pagpapabilis natin ng...
Thank you po, Doc. Attorney, any more questions?
One more.
Okay po.
Government number 3. You said that PH is first among all Southeast Asian countries using AI. Mas ginagamit natin ng AI kesa sa Singapore. Masama ba yun?
I think in the situation of the Philippines, without a regulating law, regulating AI, our tools used by the students especially, nagkakaroon po siya ng masamang epekto dahil po hindi na-regulate yung use ng estudyante. But in the Singapore, sila po ay advanced. And we can assume, or presume maybe, that Singapore can ethically use artificial intelligence because they are advanced technologically.
Thank you, Attorney. Next panel of judge po. Yes, po.
First speaker, yes. You mentioned regarding about cheating and academic dishonesty. So how can you equate cheating and academic dishonesty if there's no academic regulations pertaining to this?
Again, sir?
You mentioned about the use of AI as a form of cheating as well as academic dishonesty. How can you equate cheating and academic dishonesty if there's no academic regulation regarding this?
Actually, sir, I've made a thorough research about that. And ayun po yung ipinaglalaban namin. For us, AI we're not demonizing AI, but we consider its potential threats. So that is why meron po kami nakita na there's a House bill that has been filed in the House of Representatives. It is the House Bill number 7396 of the proposed act promoting the development and regulation of AI in the Philippines. So dito po, hinahangad po ng House Bill na ito na magkaroon ng AIDA or AIDA, which is the AIDA, which is the Artificial Intelligence Development Authority, na kung saan ito po yung magbibigay ng regulation para sa mga students and sa lahat ng mga affected po ng artificial intelligence. So, kasi kung hindi po natin nakikita na may threat.
Attorney, any more questions? Okay, first speaker also.
The negative side mentions about over-dependence and over-reliance as a threat to academic institutions, to students. And you mentioned about the word resisting innovations. How can you say that the threat that they mentioned regarding some over-reliance and over-dependence is considered as resisting to innovations?
So as I have said earlier, the over-reliance of a student towards this advancement or innovation is not the AI fault itself. The key points here kasi is not the AI is a threat, but the human who approach the AI itself in a wrong way. So when we say that resisting innovation, it is not totally resisting innovation. It is more on moderating these innovations for us, para hindi natin ma-abuse yung sinasabi nga natin artificial intelligence itself. Kasi lahat ng bagay na sobra is nakakasama po. So this so much potentials ng AI need a moderate users for it to be used in a good way po.
Thank you, Attorney. Let's go with Professor Isip.
Hello, good morning to all of you. Very intelligent answers. But then again, this group, you are saying it is a threat. This group, you are saying it's not a threat. Tama? Tama pa? Okay. So, yung nagbanggit ng Constitution, okay, what article is that?
12, Article 2, Section 17, and Article 14, Section 2 that is being levered to the second article.
Which states that?
That was is the psychological factor actually. As we've mentioned before, it was actually from the autonomy. And then the philosophy of autonomy, sir. Yeah, the philosophy of autonomy. So this is what would happen. Autonomy is actually defined as self-governance, and we choose to believe something depending upon on how you grow up. So I believe 1 minute is not enough because it's just the Constitution. But to summarize it up, I've mentioned also with my argument that we can actually regulate and use AI when we have a stewardship. Actually, it was also levered in psychology as well, since it was actually a 3 factors: psychology, and then society, technology, and then the stewardship of that the users.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Any more questions, sir? Okay na. Okay na. Any more from, ilang minutes pa meron tayo? 7 minutes pa po. Sino ba po may gusto?
Sa opposition, the government side mentioned several perceived ill effects of artificial intelligence to students. Sinabi nila na magiging cause yun na cheating, it will hinder critical thinking. Ano ngayon ang mga nakikita niyong mga solusyon para itong mga adverse effects na sinasabi ng government side ay maiwasan kung meron?
Anyone would answer? Oh, yes?
Thank you with that, attorney. I really appreciate that. With regards to that, sir, we all know that a curriculum and an educator have a different way of assessing a student. So with regards to that, sir, AI is actually somewhat different in algorithm, so we can easily spot them. Just for example, if ever in an examination, it is divided in objective and then subjective. Let's say 60% in performance task and 40% in writing. If ever that they cheated in 40% writing, we can ask them a Socratic method questions. So we could actually assess whether they really learned or not. Socratic method is very basic, yet it actually really challenges someone's critical thinking. With the use of AI, as we've mentioned over and over, it was really in autonomy. So with regards to the cheating, actually, I firmly believe that educator is actually really equipped on spotting and finding that. And even way back before, even without artificial intelligence, we all have that kind of behavior in the academy because we're actually...
Any more? Ilang minutes pa tayo? 5 minutes pa po. Baka may gusto pa po magtanong sa inyo. Panel of judges. Okay na po.
Okay, so this is for all of you. Okay, so I would not call on threats or doon sa hindi threats, okay. So I have heard from Ms. Ganda kanina, wherein sabi niya is that technology is as good as the one who is using it. Okay, in every plan of the government, in every programs, okay, you have to take or you have to get the risk from the benefits. Okay, so sana doon kayo nagkuhan kanina, the risk and the benefits lang. Okay, so the word rely. Okay, so basically don't use that word. Okay, pag tinagalog po kasi yun. So you say that teachers rely on, no. But if we are asking only because teachers right now, so I have to give the importance to this is that, sige, aminin ko na, matanda na kami. Okay. So we have to ask them because your generation and our generations is not far, so we have to ask them. And we combine our wisdom with them. So that's the number one use of these AIs. Okay? So you have a good point. You have a good point. But basically, your references and your evidences, I hope I could see that later. Okay? So thank you for that. Okay na.
So that's our first round. Again, the topic is artificial intelligence, a threat to student performance and character. Let's give our participants a round of applause. So College of Teacher Education and College of Computer Studies. Let's proceed with the second round of debaters. Now let me call on the government or the proposition of this side. Let me call on College of Criminal Justice Education. Prime Minister, and their opponent coming from College of Arts and Sciences. So leader of opposition, kapusunod-sunod na po. Okay. So their debate topic is much debated in social media. So their debate topic is death penalty for corrupt government officials of the Philippines. So again, their debate topic is death penalty for corrupt government officials of the Philippines. So let's start from the Prime Minister coming from the College of Criminal Justice Education.
So, a pleasant morning, everyone. I'm Nino Rafael Pajardo, the Prime Minister of the opposition, of the proposition team, and we are from the College of Criminal Justice Education. So the topic is all about bringing back or the death penalty for the corrupt government official of the Philippines, and we agree on that, or should we say that we firmly stand on bringing back the death penalty for the corrupt government official here in the Philippines. Because corruption has plagued our country for decades, stealing resources meant for people, deepening poverty, and even eroding the trust in our institution. The death penalty should be reinstated for the corrupt government official here in the Philippines because it serves as a strong deterrent against corruption, ensures justice for Filipino people, and also promotes good governance. There are factors that we consider for us to agree.
Hello. You do not have name in here, CCG, iba tama ba? May na-replace ka?
No, sir.
You are?
Nino Rafael Pajardo.
So, dito? Back to 5 minutes ka. Okay. 10 ba na? Okay. Yes. If possible na lang at di namin alam, okay, before you talk, kung nyo na lang, sabihin nyo kung sino kayo, kasi matatanda na kami para lang namin agad, okay?
Alright, so, again, we firmly stand on the ground for bringing back the death penalty for the corrupt government official here in the Philippines. because corruption has plagued our country for decades, stealing resources meant for people and eroding the trust in our institution. The death penalty should be reinstated for the corrupt government official here in the Philippines because the death penalty serves as a strong deterrent against corruption. Also, ensures justice for Filipino people, and also, again, it promotes good governance. So there are factors that we consider for us to agree for the reimposition of the death penalty for the corrupt government official in our country. One of that is, of course, the deterrence against corruption, followed by the possible connection of the death penalty to the human rights, and also lastly is the due process. So let's discuss first the deterrence against corruption. We must remember that the fear of a severe penalty like fear of the severe punishment like death penalty discourages crime. Reinstating the death penalty for the corrupt government officials could serve as a powerful deterrent by instilling fear and severe consequences, potentially discouraging officials from engaging bribery, embezzlement, and abuse of power. Corruption weakens institutions and erodes public trust, but strict penalties could reinforce accountability and signal a zero-tolerance approach, restoring confidence in our governance. Additionally, eliminating corrupt officials from their position of influence may help strengthen the rule of law and ensures that the public funds are used for national development rather than personal gain. From an economic perspective, reducing corruption could lead to more efficient resource allocation, fostering growth and stability. Furthermore, the irreversible nature of death penalty eliminates the risk of repeat offenses, preventing convicted officials from regaining power and continuing illicit activity. Another thing is human rights. The death penalty for corrupt officials can be justified through a human rights perspective by emphasizing the justice for the victim rather than solely focusing on the rights of the accused. Corruption is not a victimless crime. It's not a victimless crime. It deprives millions of Filipinos healthcare, education, and basic necessities, leading to suffering and even death. If human rights are meant to protect life and dignity, then allowing the corrupt officials go unpunished violates these principles. By treating corruption as a crime against humanity, the death penalty becomes proportional response to the harm inflicted on society. With strong legal safeguards, due process, and undeniable evidence, capital punishment ensures that only the true guilty are held accountable while deterring future abuses. Ultimately, human rights should not only defend criminals, but protect the people from those who exploit power for personal gain. We must remember that human rights are not just about protecting criminals. They are about protecting the people. If corrupt leads to widespread harm, then death penalty is not a violation of human rights, but rather a tool to defend people. And lastly is due process. The death penalty for corrupt officials must be implemented with strict due process to ensure justice while upholding human rights. This means that before any execution, the accused must go through a fair, thorough legal process that includes transparent investigation, trial with strong legal presentation, and multiple levels of appeals to prevent wrongful conviction. Before I end, to conclude, corruption has crippled our nation for too long, and we must take action for this. If we truly want progress, we must make corruption a crime that no official would dare to commit. And also, a death penalty is not just a punishment. It is a necessary tool to protect Filipino people from greed and abuse of power and authority. And that will be all. Thank you.
And we have another mix-up block with the score sheet po. Sa kaso, ito yung official na sunod-sunod. Paano na lang para di sila malito? Pasulat mo na lang ulit. Yeah. So, si Comida muna, Candelaria, then Hermida, then Escultero. before we proceed. And same na lang din with our two attorneys. Ay, gusto ko na yung kailan attorney. Thank you, Frank. Okay, so let's proceed. So we're done with the first speaker of government. Let's proceed with the leader of opposition.
Magandang umaga po sa lahat ng narito. Ang opposition team po ay lubos na sumasalong sa posisyon na sinasabi nila. Unang-una nung sinabi nilang ang death penalty ay strong deterrent for corruption. Unang-una, there is no proof that death penalty deters criminal. Ayon nga sa US National Academy of Sciences, sinasabi dito, please listen, research on the deterrent effect of capital punishment is uninformative about whether capital punishment increases, decreases, or has no effect on criminal rates. Ayon pa sa isang aral ng Vernon Center for Justice, that is Nonpartisan Law and Policy, na isang organization in the US, their empirical analysis finds that executions had no effect on crime on 1990s to 20. Kaso masyado kasi tayong focus sa pagpapataas ng severity ng punishment. Ay yung mga sinasabi niyong arguments ay nagsasabi na increasing the severity of punishment does little to deter the crime actually. Napakaliit ng porsyento lang na ginagawa nun. Bakit? Dahil wala naman sa kokote ng mga criminal na yan ang perception na, ay, mahuhuli ako, o makukulong ako, or mapapansa naman ako agad-agad. Sa feel ba nila yun bago sila gumawa ng krimen? Hindi. It is not just in their perception, pati na rin sa on the actual probability. Ayon nga sa US National Institute of Justice at isinagawang research sa Purdue University, the certainty of being caught and the likelihood of punishment are vastly more powerful deterrent than the severity of punishment. Kasi, kung deterrence naman yung pag-uusapan, ano magagawa ng punishment mo, yung probability na mahuhuli mo sila ay napakababa. At kahit ano pang draconian punishment ang ilagay mo sa batas natin, kung magkaka naman yung chance na mahuhuli sila, anong kwenta, hindi ba? At kung sasabihin natin, patatasin na lang natin yung probability ng punishment, tatasan na ito, basta-basta wala lamang ba, matatasan yung probability of punishment. As criminology students, malalaman natin na napakaraming factor, napakalaking social cost ang kailangan, policemen, court personnel, at iba pang mga monitoring equipment. Hindi lang monitoring equipment, specialist monitoring equipment ang kailangan. At higit na riyan, dalawang punto gusto namin ipasok dito. No? Unang-una yung flood justice system natin. In 1993-2004, 2 pesos na abolish death penalty. In the case of People versus Mateo, sinasabi ng Supreme Court na 71.77% ng death penalty verdicts ay galing sa mga lower courts ay waling convictions. At syempre, kailangan tayo tanya ng Supreme Court dahil mandate nila na mag-review, mag-monitor at mag-overturn ang mga ganitong programa. Pero example na ba ang lower courts sa pagpapaayos ng pagpatupad ng maayos na batas? Hindi. Dahil, gusto lang namin.
Thank you. Okay. Now let's proceed to the second speaker from the opposition, Deputy Leader of Opposition.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Arabella Fealdana. I am the Deputy Prime Minister of the Proposition Team. So, yung sinasabi niyang strong deterrent, hindi effective yung death penalty as strong deterrent. So, ano ba dapat i-implement? Life imprisonment? Hindi ba yung sinasabi nyo nga, flood justice system ngayon, yung meron tayong flawed justice system. Hindi ba yung sa sobrang bagal ng justice system natin, yung mga accused is nakakatakbo pa rin. So hindi ba nila gagawing escape? So i-emphasize ko lang yung human rights. Palagi nating dinidefend yung human rights ng offender. Pero, hindi ba, isn't it corruption also violates the rights of not just one, but millions of Filipinos, such as the right to education? Corrupt practices can, in particular, undermine access to education and the quality of educational services. Corruption also limit the social economic development of a society as a whole, especially yung mga taong nasa laylayan, tsaka yung may hirap. So, corruption leaves government with fewer resources to fulfill human rights obligation to deliver and to improve the standard of living of the citizens. So, you defend the right of the corrupt official, but what about the rights of the millions of Filipinos affected by their actions? In just one act of corruption, countless lives suffer. Marami ng presidente na dumaan na nagpa-promise to end the corruption in their political campaign, but none has achieved it so far. If the government truly wants to end corruption, it must implement policies directed against corruption. So, hindi lang dapat life imprisonment. And I believe everyone that policy is death penalty. That's all.
Thank you. So let's proceed with the second speaker from the opposition, Deputy Leader of Opposition.
Okay, so according to a study of Lin Jingwang from Purdue University entitled Punishment of Public Corruption in China and the US, ang sinasabi dito, it is the likelihood and not the severity of the punishment ang malaking deal kung bakit nagkakaroon ng crime deterrence. So ibig sabihin, the probability of punishing corruption matters a great deal doon sa mga nagkasala. Ibig sabihin, kung ikaw ay nagnakaw ng mangga at alam mo na ikaw ay mapaparusahan, mas malaking matter of deterrence sa'yo. Hindi yung kung ano lang yung alam mong punishment. Kahit pa death penalty yung i-impose mo sa tao na nagnakaw ng mangga, kung alam niya naman na hindi siya mapaparusahan, wala rin kwenta yon. So, it is about the likelihood. Kailangan natin i-stretch out na meron tayong mga existing na mga batas against corruption and hindi na natin kailangan pa-update death penalty yung possible na punishment na ibibigay dito. So, meron ding study, yung Death Penalty Information Center, na yung murder rate sa mga non-death penalty states sa United States ay consistently lower than the rate in the states with death penalty in the US. Ibig sabihin, dun sa mga states na may death penalty at yung mga walang death penalty, halos parehas lang. So, may kita natin in these statistics na hindi talaga siya nagsiserve as a deterrence against crime. And also, sabi nila kanina, meron daw risk na makulit itong mga ganitong mga corruption cases. So, tingnan natin, ano pa yung mga dapat gawin para maiwasan ito? Meron ng mga hakbang na ginawa ang Kongreso, ang ating mga batas, di ba? Meron na tayong transparency, meron na tayong Freedom of Information Bill, which is which is in the Congress until now, pero in the Executive Department, implemented na siya. We have Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. Diba? Kailangan lang natin pagtibayin yung execution at yung pag-employ nitong mga batas na ito. Hindi na natin kailangan pa dumagdag ng batas. Panibagong batas na i-implement ng ating gobyerno. Yung mga kasalukuyan nating batas, hindi pa masyadong na-implement, di ba? So, ito yung mga dapat nating pagtayan. Sabi nila, due process, thorough legal processes to prevent unlawful